Before we begin, make sure you're somewhere quiet. Turn off the lights. Put on your headphones. Because the stories you're about to hear aren't just scary. These are the kinds of experiences people don't talk about. If you enjoy true horror stories, unsettling encounters, and disturbing events that happen to real people, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Now, let's begin. People always say your wedding day is supposed to be the happiest day of your life. That's what I believe too. I believed it right up until I noticed the empty seat in the front row. It was my wedding day, late October, the kind of cold that creeps through your clothes even when the sun is out. The venue was an old countryside estate, white walls, tall windows, and a chapel that looked beautiful in photos but felt wrong in person. The air inside was heavy, like it hadn't been properly opened in years. I remember standing in the bridal suite, adjusting my tie, watching my reflection shake slightly as my hands trembled. I thought it was just nerves. Everyone says that's normal. But then my best man, Aaron, leaned in close and whispered something that made my stomach drop. "Hey, do you know who's sitting in the front row?" I followed his eyes through the half-open door of the chapel. There was a seat reserved in the front row, closest to the aisle. It was marked with a small white card that simply read, "For her." I laughed it off at first. I assumed it was meant for my mother. But my mother was already seated 2 rows back, smiling and waving at me. "That's weird," I said. "Maybe the coordinator messed up." Aaron didn't laugh. "There's been someone sitting there since this morning," he said quietly. I thought it was a guest, but they haven't moved. I looked again. The seat was empty. But the cushion was visibly compressed, as if someone had just stood up. The ceremony started on time. The music played. Guests stood. My fiancée, Emily, walked down the aisle looking beautiful, radiant, unaware that my heart was pounding harder with every step she took toward me. As she passed the front row, she froze for half a second. It was subtle, just a hitch in her step, but I saw it. Her eyes flicked toward the empty seat. Later, she told me she thought she saw someone sitting there. A woman in a pale dress, hands folded in her lap, head tilted slightly as if studying her. But when Emily blinked, the seat was empty. The vows went on. The officiant spoke. We said "I do." Everyone clapped. But the entire time, I felt like we weren't alone. At the reception, things got worse. The venue staff insisted they kept finding an extra place setting at one of the tables. Every time they removed it, it somehow reappeared. A clean plate. A folded napkin. A wine glass filled with water, untouched. Emily's smile faded as the night went on. She kept asking me the same question. "Did you invite her?" "Invite who?" I asked. She wouldn't answer. Around 9 p.m., one of Emily's bridesmaids pulled me aside, pale and shaking. "I didn't want to say anything earlier," she whispered, "but someone was in the women's bathroom." She was crying. "Who?" "I don't know." She was wearing a wedding dress, but it was old. Like, really old. And she kept saying, "He promised me first." I felt a cold rush crawl up my spine. That's when I remembered something I hadn't thought about in years. Before Emily, before college, before my current life, there had been someone else. Her name was Lydia. We grew up in the same town. High school sweethearts. We talked about marriage constantly. She believed in fate. Soulmates. Forever. I broke it off abruptly when I left for college. I didn't explain properly. I didn't answer her messages. 3 months later, she died. Officially, it was ruled an accident. She drowned in the river outside town. But everyone whispered that she'd gone there herself, still wearing the ring I'd given her. I never attended the funeral. At the reception, the lights flickered. Then the music cut out. The microphone screeched with feedback, and for a brief moment, a woman's voice echoed through the speakers. Why wasn't I invited? People laughed nervously, assuming it was some technical issue. But Emily didn't laugh. She dropped her glass. She was staring at the far end of the room. There she is, she whispered. I turned slowly. Near the back door stood a woman in a soaked, yellowed wedding dress. Her hair clung to her face. Her skin was pale, bloated, wrong. She was smiling at me. No one else seemed to notice her. She raised one hand and pointed to the dance floor. That's when Emily collapsed. The night ended in chaos, paramedics, guests whispering, the wedding cut short. Emily claimed she was just overwhelmed, but she cried the entire ride home. That night, I dreamed of standing at the altar again. But this time, Emily wasn't there. Lydia was. She smiled as she took my hands and said, "You finally showed up." I woke up to Emily screaming. There were wet footprints leading from our bedroom door to the foot of the bed. Small puddles of river water soaked into the carpet. On the pillow beside Emily's head was a single white card. For her. Emily left me 3 weeks later. She said she couldn't marry someone who wasn't fully there. I didn't argue. Sometimes, late at night, I hear wedding music drifting through the house. Slow. Distant. Familiar. And sometimes, when I sit alone in the living room, I swear I feel someone sit beside me. The cushion sinks. The seat is no longer empty. I didn't want to watch the wedding video. After everything that happened, I told myself it was better to leave it buried. But curiosity has a way of rotting inside your head until you can't ignore it anymore. 3 months after my wedding, I finally pressed play. The video began normally. Bright colors. Smiling faces. The kind of footage you'd expect, guests arriving, kids running around, laughter echoing through the venue courtyard. If I didn't know what I know now, I would have thought it was just another happy day. But even then, something felt off. The cameraman lingered too long on certain shots. Empty hallways. Corners of rooms. The staircase leading down to the basement level of the venue, a place the staff told us was locked and unused. At the time, I thought nothing of it. The ceremony footage came next. My wife, Hannah, looked nervous but happy. I remembered squeezing her hand at the altar, whispering that everything was going to be okay. The officiant joked. Guests laughed. Then the camera shifted. It zoomed in on the front row. There was an empty seat beside Hannah's parents. I paused the video. I didn't remember that seat being empty. I rewound it. Played it again. The seat wasn't just empty, it looked used. The fabric was creased. The flowers tied to the chair sagged slightly, as if brushed by someone's arm. I felt a chill crawl across my neck. I kept watching. As Hannah walked down the aisle, the camera panned slowly, almost deliberately, toward that seat. For just a fraction of a second, the image distorted. The video glitched. When it stabilized, the seat was empty again. The reception footage was worse. The cameraman captured moments I didn't remember happening at all. At one point, during the speeches, the camera drifted away from the head table and focused on a dark corner near the kitchen doors. Someone was standing there. A woman. She wore a bridesmaid-style dress, but it didn't match our wedding colors. Her hair was pulled back tightly, her face pale and expressionless. She wasn't clapping. She was staring straight at Hannah. I paused the video again, heart racing. I didn't remember inviting anyone who looked like that. I called Hannah into the room. "Do you recognize her?" I asked. She barely glanced at the screen before her face went white. "That's not possible," she whispered. "Who is she?" Hannah sat down slowly, her hands shaking. "That's Claire." The name hit me like a punch to the chest. Claire was Hannah's childhood best friend. They'd grown up inseparable until senior year of high school. That was when everything fell apart. Claire had been obsessed with weddings. Marriage. The idea of forever. When Hannah started dating me, Claire became distant, bitter. They had one massive argument, something Hannah never liked to talk about. 2 weeks later, Claire was found dead in her apartment. Officially, it was ruled an overdose. But rumors said otherwise. Hannah had told me once, late at night, that Claire had accused her of stealing the life that was meant for her. We kept watching. As the reception continued, the camera caught Claire again, this time closer. She stood near the dance floor while Hannah and I danced. No one bumped into her. No one acknowledged her presence. She didn't cast a shadow. Then came the part that made Hannah scream. During the cake cutting, the camera zoomed in on the knife. There were fingerprints on the blade. Wet fingerprints. The video skipped forward on its own. Now it was late in the night. Guests were leaving. Staff cleaned up tables. The cameraman wandered into the hallway near the restrooms. That's when he filmed something he clearly didn't notice at the time. A reflection. In the mirror behind him, Claire stood directly behind the camera. Her mouth moved. The audio crackled, and her voice came through faint but clear. She promised me I'd be next. The video ended abruptly. We sat in silence for a long time. That night, Hannah admitted something she'd never told anyone. The week before our wedding, she'd received a message from an unknown number. It was a single photo. Claire, wearing a white dress, standing inside our venue. The message beneath it read, "I'll be there." Hannah assumed it was a sick prank. She deleted it. 2 nights after we watched the video, Hannah woke me up screaming. She said someone was standing at the foot of the bed, brushing invisible dust from a dress. When I turned on the light, no one was there. But the carpet was damp. The smell of perfume lingered in the air, sweet, overpowering, familiar. We moved out of that house a month later. The wedding video disappeared from our hard drive on its own. No recycle bin. No trace. But sometimes, when Hannah scrolls through her phone late at night, she swears she sees a notification pop up. Unknown contact, I loved the ceremony. We never replied. Our marriage didn't last a year. To this day, Hannah refuses to attend weddings. She says she's afraid of seeing someone standing in the background, someone no one else notices. Someone waiting for her turn. People say your wedding day is supposed to be the happiest day of your life. For me, it became the day I realized some places don't let you leave once they've decided you belong to them. I was the groom. And according to everyone else, I walked out of that venue alone. But I know the truth. The venue was an old countryside estate, the kind of place that looked beautiful in photos but unsettling in person. Long gravel driveway. Tall dead trees lining the entrance like they were watching you arrive. The building itself was massive, 3 floors, narrow windows, and a ballroom that smelled faintly of dust and old flowers. The manager told us it had been renovated. What she didn't say was that parts of it were sealed off. During rehearsal the night before the wedding, I noticed several locked doors along the West Wing hallway. Thick wooden doors with brass handles scratched to hell, like someone had tried to claw their way out. When I asked the staff about them, they laughed it off. Old storage rooms, they said. Nothing worth seeing. The morning of the wedding, my best man was late. Really late. He was supposed to help me get ready, but his phone went straight to voicemail. Eventually, one of the staff told me they'd seen him earlier, wandering near the West Wing, looking confused. That didn't sit right with me. But weddings are chaos. You ignore weird things because there's too much happening at once. The ceremony itself went smoothly. My bride, Elise, looked nervous but beautiful. She kept glancing over my shoulder while we exchanged vows, her smile trembling just slightly. Later, she admitted she thought someone was standing behind me. At the time, I laughed it off. I wish I hadn't. At the reception, the staff encouraged guests to explore the estate while they set up dinner. People wandered off in small groups, drinks in hand. That's when the first guest disappeared. An older uncle of Elise's went to use the restroom and never came back. Staff assumed he'd gone outside for air. Then another guest vanished. Then my best man. By the time dinner was served, there were empty seats everywhere. People joked about it. Someone said the estate must be eating guests. The laugh that followed sounded forced. I decided to look for my best man myself. I walked down the west wing hallway. The lights flickered as I passed each locked door. The air grew colder, thicker, like it was harder to breathe. At the very end of the hall, one door stood open. I know it wasn't open before. Inside was a narrow room with peeling wallpaper and no furniture, except for a chair in the center. My best man was sitting in it. His head hung forward. I stepped closer and called his name. He looked up slowly. His eyes were wide, glassy, unfocused. "I think I messed up," he whispered. Before I could ask what he meant, the door slammed shut behind me. The lights went out. In the darkness, something moved. Not footsteps, dragging. Like fabric being pulled across the floor. Then I heard voices. Dozens of them. Whispering. Repeating vows. "I take you. For better or worse. Till death." The lights flickered back on. The chair was empty. So was the room. I ran. When I burst back into the ballroom, the music stopped. Everyone was staring at me. Elise was gone. Her veil lay crumpled on the floor near the head table. The staff acted strangely calm. One of them placed a hand on my shoulder and said, "Sir, the bride has already left." "That's impossible," I said. "She was just here." They exchanged looks. Then the manager said something that made my blood run cold. There was no bride on the guest list tonight. I laughed. I actually laughed. But no one else did. They showed me the paperwork. The booking contract. My name was there. Only my name. No bride listed. No second signature. The photos were worse. Every picture showed me standing alone at the altar. Dancing alone. Cutting the cake alone. Where Elise should have been, there was nothing, just blurred space, like the camera couldn't process her. I demanded to leave. The manager nodded politely and said, "Of course." But when I reached the front doors, they wouldn't open. The locks were sealed. The staff stood behind me now, blocking the hallway. That's when I heard Elise's voice. It echoed through the estate, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. "I didn't want to be alone," she said softly. "Neither do they." The walls began to whisper again. The west wing doors creaked open one by one. Inside each room, I saw them. Brides. Grooms. Guests. All dressed in wedding clothes from different decades. All standing perfectly still. Watching me. The manager smiled. "This place hosts weddings," she said. "It keeps them." I don't remember how I escaped. Police reports say I was found wandering the highway at sunrise, still wearing my tuxedo, barefoot and bleeding. They searched the estate. They found nothing. No missing guests. No staff. No West Wing. The building had been abandoned for over 30 years. Elise was never reported missing. According to records, she never existed. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I hear music. Slow wedding music. And a voice whispering from behind me. "You haven't danced with me yet."